So the Arizona legislative session just started this week, correct?
Yes, sir.
What are you planning on doing, or what have you done at the legislative level to work on election integrity and border security?
Well, let's see. November 30th last year, I chaired a ad hoc committee, which means a committee off-site, not officially sanctioned by the legislature. That committee of a total of 9 of us heard testimony, took evidence, and we created probable cause for the Senate 14 days later to issue subpoenas. And that is what is now known as the Maricopa County audit.
Yeah.
On December 13th, just passed, we held a second public hearing on election integrity, where Pima County residents and evidence was accepted. In fact, they're still doing some of the canvass work. We found substantial irregularities to the point where I think there's a strong likelihood that that election should also be classified as irredeemably compromised and should be set aside. Now, we don't have all the proof yet because we're still doing some of the canvassing. And then, of course, we've got Yuma County that's got some issues with people going back and forth between a polling center and a 501, the building for a 501c3. You know, I think 501c3s are not supposed to engage in electioneering. Yeah. So it's my understanding they've got some affidavits and probably some indictments maybe at some point. But, you know, when you're looking at something that appears to be a racketeering case, and I mean, when you've got 3 different counties and you've got different levels and then you've got an interaction going on between various states, the potential for a racketeering case is there. And with the actors that we have seen, like, you know, Stacey Abrams and some of these people who just don't give a whit about nullification of somebody's vote, they're perfectly happy to inject an illegal vote, an illegitimate vote, and to cancel out a legitimate vote as long as they can stay in power. That's what this is about. It's a fight over power.
Sure.
So my follow-up question to all of that, you know, as you're working legislatively on election integrity, I know you're more than aware of a lot of the media backlash that you've gotten. You know, people saying that you know, there's not evidence, it's not credible, or people just saying, move on from 2020, let's focus on the future. So what is kind of your responses to a lot of that backlash?
Well, if you don't fix what happened in the past, how are you going to rely on the future? I think that's a straw man argument that people want to. Human beings have this interesting behavior. Excuse me, I had some nasal surgery yesterday.
No,
so
you're
I got
fine.
little sniffles going
You
on.
sound great.
It's okay.
Human beings have this very interesting activity that they engage in. They avoid things that are painful. Okay, and I've received some of the most despicable mail saying you're a traitor. You know, you destroyed this election. You've destroyed the people's faith in the election. Okay, let me stop a second. That train left the station a long time ago. People have known that there's been something wrong with certain elections around this state in some of our counties for a very long time. A very long time. All the way back to when I moved here in 1999, there was a huge question about an election in Pima County where they tried to pass a regional transit authority. It passed, but everybody's looking at each other like, how'd that pass? Because everybody says they voted against it. Okay? So it's the question of going back to the original premise. Elections belong to the people. They don't belong to the government. And when the government is telling you, hey, this is, you know, perhaps the only way we're going to be able to get this done, you're going to have to rely on us. Something's not right. Okay? So think about this for a moment. You have what used to be done by people, and I've dropped a bill, and introduced a bill, that calls for paper ballots and hand counting. Can't rely on electronic tabulation as the primary means of counting votes.
Sure.
Okay, so I think the electronic tabulation, quite frankly, is a solution in search of a problem. Because what we've done is we've taken the people out of the process, replaced it with electronics, which means we no longer have transparency. We have to rely on a machine that, by the way, in the Senate hearing, when the evidence was presented, they admitted that they did not have superior access to the highest level of the electronic tabulation equipment. So that means that Dominion actually operated the election, not the county.
Yeah.
That's a problem. That's called total lack of transparency,
Right.
total inability to verify. So you've got some issues there that you can't get past them.
Mm-hmm.
That means when we find those kinds of irregularities to the numbers, just keep in mind, and I think Peter Navarro coined this phrase, when the margin of error exceeds the margin of victory, that's irredeemably flawed, okay? So that means, what that statement means is you're not taking votes away from one person and giving them to another. What you're doing is you're decertifying the election. You're reclaiming the electors because you can't declare a winner, okay? This isn't about whether or not Joe Biden got him or Donald Trump got him. It's about whether or not the people's voice actually was properly and accurately represented.
Right.
And you can't say that. Now, Stephen Richards is going to go out there and say, oh, these are all lies. Really? We've proven the case. How about you prove that it wasn't? There's one for you.
Yeah.
By the way, he's the Maricopa County recorder.